Hi, I'm doing this video. Don't worry about the fact that you can't see my face. That's not important. Yeah, way too much going on in my little studio space. So I didn't have enough room to back my camera up from my green screen, so you're just gonna see me chopping off the top of my head. Deal with it. It's just the way I do. My cluttery desk late at night, my hair a mess. Someone actually said to me today, "Oh look, your shirt says your last name, Golden, right there." Like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I had them made. You know, people say I'm golden. Well, no, but I really am golden. I wanna throw out a little disclaimer about this video. I could have done this like in like a 5 or 10 minute version of it, but I thought, no, you know what? If I do that, I'm gonna assume that makes an ass out of you and me. I'm gonna be assuming that people that are watching this maybe know things about cooking that I can't assume that they know. I don't want to do that. So it's long, it's boring. I put cuts in it so you can cut straight to things that might be interesting. So, you know, hopefully it'll make it easier to watch. But I wanted to make it something where if you don't know about something or don't know the details of how to do something or get something or whatever, I just put in a bunch of logic. I actually filmed for over an hour and a half, so it's only 20 minutes, so I cut a lot out. And I kept things that I thought were real important so that when you're watching it and there's things you don't know about cooking or about how to get some things that I talk about, I go into enough detail so you don't have to ask questions or wonder. And if it's not enough detail, ask. Ask me, ask a friend, whoever, but ask. And if you ask me, I'll do the best I can to give you an answer that makes sense. That's all I got. Go eat some chili. All right. I'm at the store the other day, walking through the Walmart, and I see this nice young pretty girl. You know, we're both looking at sauces, you know, teriyaki sauce and whatnot. She, you know, as I'm looking at it, she's like, "What are you looking for?" she asks. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm looking for something that they probably don't have and won't have, but, you know, I'm just staring at it because I was hoping it'd be here. Don't worry about it." She's like, "Well, what? What do you want to look for? What do you want to find?" And I'm appreciating how this, like, can't be more than 20, 21, nice young person trying to be helpful, you know, for the old guy, right? So anyway, I'm like, well, the low sodium teriyaki sauce. They had the soy sauce, but not the low sodium teriyaki. She's like, "Oh yeah, I've only seen that like once ever." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not here very often." We get to chit-chatting, and she's talking about how she doesn't know how to cook. I'm like, "Oh, I can cook anything." You know, in fact, heck, that's probably not a bad idea because even though my video is not really targeted specifically to one audience in my mind. So I said to her, "Gosh, that'd be great for my TikTok and stuff." And she's like, "What do you do?" And I go, and I told her, I said, "You know what, look me up in a couple of weeks and I'm gonna put up a video." So I'm doing it. And about how to cook. I said, "I can cook anything." She's like, "I can't cook anything." I'm like, "Well, you know, I wonder if I could make a video about like how to cook anything you want with nothing at all." Meaning like with, and I don't know what she thought I meant by that. I told her to check it out in a couple of weeks, hopefully she will. So if it's you, girl, awesome girl, if that's you, say something, you know, let me know, tell me what you think. I hope I'm making it for you and for every one of your ilk. So, yeah, I'm gonna show you guys how to do what I think would be awesome cooking. Like, you will be the person, everyone around, if you're in college, if you're in a dorm, or a cheap apartment, or a room without, you know, with a bunch of roommates, and you don't have that much space, not much room in a kitchen, but you got a little space to be able to work with. I'm going to show you how to make anything, like practically anything, and make it awesome and make it so that everybody wants to eat at your place, and you got to start charging them for it because food these days, oh my gosh, it's not cheap. But you will eat like a king for cheap. Now I'm thinking, I can't show you how to do all the cooking I do. I mean, I know how to do a lot of things. You know, anything anyone asks me to do, I know how to do it. I learned how to cook by watching my mother. I never went to classes. I didn't take any, you know, special training. I just know how. And when people say, "Oh, I'm gonna make this," or "I want to do that," I think to myself, I don't need a recipe. I would know how to do that because I know the steps. I know what things are entailed, so I don't have to really have a recipe. I just have to know how to do the basics and then put them together. If I'm looking up anything, it's like maybe like a proper cooking time. If you have a few simple things around, you can cook anything and make it like you're a pro. And it really is no effort. You don't really have to know anything about what you're doing. I want to do things you can do it with where you can either get them cheaply or for free. And when I say free, I mean go to, Facebook lately has been having a bunch of groups called the Buy Nothing groups of your city. Go to your local Buy Nothing group. I live in an affluent town, so it's really great because, you know, anything that people are giving away is usually really nice stuff. My cooking things are things that I've owned and I bought myself at one point or another, but I've been looking up like CrockPots and air fryers and rice cookers and all these things, and I'm seeing them for free or like really cheap, like 10 bucks, 20 bucks for really nice ones. This is my CrockPot. I bought it, you know, a few years ago now, and it's got a few miles on it, and I like it because I can strap it down. But you know, we get frisky. Woo. But what I like to do, I mean, let me qualify that statement. I mean, I travel with it. I put it in the car and I take it. My kids don't live with me, which I hate, but that's another long story. And I strap it down. And I'm realizing from the last time I used it a few days ago, something's wrong with this hook. That's great, but I'm so stupid. Laugh at me. Laugh at the jokes. Get more free gifts. Okay, great. So, all right, nothing's broken. I was just doing it wrong. So you put this in here, and I like this one because I can, you know, strap it down and travel with it, and you know the cord's short, so it's easy to carry. All right. But so if you only have two things, and now because I had COVID last year, I was in the hospital for a month. I have issues with breathing. I still have issues with breathing. I've now hit the wall. So if I stop, take pauses, or you see cuts, it's getting air. All right. So that's why I can't really do my typical work, because I'm being on the phone for long amounts of time and sounding like a max murderer. I'm about to. It doesn't bode well for selling over the phone. Okay. I have. This is also. Oh, it's got water in it. Just washed it. This is also my pot for a Instant Pot. Now, I'm not going to show you Instant Pot cooking, but everything I'm going to show you here, you can do faster with an Instant Pot. So if you can get one, cheap, free, or just have one, I'm out of air. If you can get one, they're great. Okay, everything that I'm doing, you can do quicker with an Instant Pot. Now, these are the kinds of things I'm going to show you to do where before you go to classes, set this in the morning and forget about it, walk away, 4 hours, 8 hours, you know, and then the food in it's going to be remarkable and awesome. All right, and this is from my rice cooker. My rice cooker, I've had it for so long. It's pre-divorce, actually. This is post-divorce. This is pre-divorce. I also have a Vitamix that I bought after the divorce, and I'm not going to get that out. But if you've got access to a blender like that, oh my gosh, the things you can do. If you want, so I'm letting you know the things that I have that I like to work with. So if you want to ask questions, I'll tell you some things that I do, like how to make soup in a blender. If you need a Vitamix or a high-quality blender like that, because of the speed you need to get heat, but it'll cook it. It spins so fast, creates friction, it cooks the soup. Gosh, and it comes out great. So anyway, you gotta have a rice cooker. It's great. You know, you get a small one for usually free or dirt cheap, even brand new. People give them away all the time, or you know, you can just go, you know, get one if money isn't a big issue. What we're gonna cook, I'm calling it leftovers need love 2 chili, because I have this chicken meat. It's chicken thighs that I've had in my freezer for like a year. I've also got some hamburger meat that the sell-by date is tomorrow. I was at the store an hour and a half ago, honestly, just getting like junk food, because sometimes I eat that too. And I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna make a video later tonight. Didn't even think to get the things that I knew I didn't have. Like when I make chili, I like to get tomato sauce. I didn't have any tomato sauce. I took this from one of my roommates. So, sorry. At least they know I'll replace it. When I make chili in this size of a crock pot, I'll use like 2 of these cans or one of the bigger cans. This is all we had. So we're gonna do the leftovers need love 2 chili, or dorm chili, or college chili, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, give it a name, and then your friends will love it. And we're gonna put things in it, and it'll be different every time, because it's gonna be whatever you have on hand. I'm not making this as an official recipe. I'm making this as to prove that whatever the hell you have, you can just throw that shit in there right there, and it'll taste phenomenal. I'm going to show you how to do this all with as little or no sink work at all, like for prepping or cleaning, because I don't have a sink in my flat here. I've got a huge closet and a prep area that I have in my closet, and a refrigerator and everything else, you know, and a little cooking area. But I don't have a hot plate, or I prefer to go and use the stove, and I use the stove and the oven a lot. I'm out of air again. I'm gonna try and show you how to do this so that if you're in a dorm where you don't have a sink or a preparation area, that you know, you don't want to keep using your kitchen tub or sink for, you know, food stuff all the time. You know, for a few things it's fine, and I'm going to suggest that you do. But there's not a lot of things, you know, you don't want to, you know, do that with your food very often, as little as you can if possible. Rubbing alcohol. Don't use hand sanitizer on your hands when you're touching food. Why? Because have you ever put that stuff in your mouth? Oh, yuck, right? Well, you don't want that flavor transferring to your food. Trust me, not something you want to do. But just plain old rubbing alcohol on your hands, it doesn't leave a flavor from transfer of touching, okay? Not only that, it's an emulsifier, meaning that when you spray like fats with it, it'll emulsify or soften, loosen up the fat, and you can wipe things off. So if you have rags or paper towels and you want to clean things off for use later, spray them off with the alcohol. Get that alcohol sprayed off so it doesn't ruin the surface of it, because it can damage the surface of certain metals and plastics. Normally, I would use the stove to fry my meat, the hamburger meat we're going to use. I'll fry it, make it in the kitchen, throw it in. I'll usually pour the grease out and get rid of it. But since we're going to do this like an easy recipe, not going to worry about getting rid of all the fat. But if you can go to the store and get those like 1 pound rolls of meat, and you want to throw that in there, that'd be perfect for the kind of thing we're doing. They're cheap. You can throw them in a small fridge and keep them for a few days, or a small freezer, keep them for a few days. Since I want to do it in a way that makes it look easy, I'm going to skip what I would usually do. I'm not going to cook it in the kitchen. We're going to just take it. You don't want to take that big brick and just throw it in there. You don't want a lump of meat. It'll cook it in our crock pot, but yuck, right? So we're going to break it up. When you cook it, it's not just cooking it, but you're breaking it up. And even if you cook it and throw it in here and let it cook more, it's not going to overcook it. It'll just soften it up. It'll make it tender on a stovetop. And I'm going to use these gloves to break it up, mash it up, and throw it inside. And that will make it, what you want it to be in a chili. Okay. I usually also throw in a can of diced tomatoes and diced onions and garlic and things that have water, and I'll throw it in. Unless I don't want it. Unless I'm doing it without beans, because the beans will soak up the water. Now, sometimes when you throw it in there and you're still going to have something watery, it's not really chili anymore. It's like a stew, and it's weird because it tastes like chili, but it's a stew. And nothing wrong with that. It's fine. Heck, throw like more tomato sauce in it, and you can make it a Spanish tomatoes or spaghetti sauce. It actually comes out really great on pasta. But if you're making it like a real chili flavor and want it to be the consistency of chili, you need to thicken it. And a thickener would be like flour. So if I had like 2 or 3 cups or 4 cups of water, I'd want to use maybe a tablespoon every cup of water, maybe not quite a whole tablespoon of flour. That might be too much depending on taste, thickness that you like. But, kind of roughly maybe use like a tablespoon to every cup. Maybe that might be too much. Just kind of, as you, flake it in, get the flour in a tablespoon and kind of, gently, use a fork and flake it in there. And you stir it. You don't need to really cook it to get see what the consistency is going to be. Cooking does make it a little thicker, but not tons thicker. You'll figure it out. All right. And a lot of my cooking is like that. I don't know the details of times and such and measurements, but I know what things need to be like, and it doesn't take long to just do it on the fly. And the cooking I do, everyone loves it, so I figure I'm doing something right. I'm gonna do this with beans, so I don't really need anything to soak up the water, but I am gonna put a little extra water. I don't have the diced tomatoes and such, but I'll go ahead and throw a little extra water in there because I'm gonna put I have some potato pearls, mashed potato, like dehydrated mashed potatoes. That's another thickening agent you can use, and it'll make it taste really good. Or you can just use, regular potatoes, and when you put them in the microwave to get them to cook and then mash them up in there, that'll thicken it up and it'll taste awesome. That's one way to do it. But I'm gonna use some potato pearls just because I have them and they're still fresh. And that'll thicken it up a little bit. What else can we do? So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of sort of do this, and you'll see how I do things as we go along. All right, so I'm gonna go get things. As I was talking about thickening, I thought you might want to put rice in here. No, don't do it. Rice. Remember those bath feed things, and you get them in water, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. That's kind of like what rice does. It's like having these little white capsules that get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they have a weird texture, and they're just weird. So you wouldn't want that. We're gonna put beans in it now. I like to rinse my beans. So this is one of those things where you're gonna use your water source. Like You can do this in the tub or your bathroom sink. It's not gross. Just rinse the beans out before you put them in. Just in case. Sometimes beans, these packages have like little pebbles and stuff from because they grow in the ground. But just rinsing them in the tub isn't something that's going to be gross. So I would do it there. So I'm going to go to my kitchen and do that. So the thing about putting beans, I like doing no bean chili because when you do it with beans, you all know what beans make you do, right? And if you're eating this by yourself, even if it's a smaller crock pot, even half the size, this is about as much of a size of a package of beans you would want in a large crock pot. You'd want half this much in a half size, okay? Figure it out. But even still, just that amount of beans in a chili, it may not seem a lot, even when they're all expanded and cooked. But if you're eating that by yourself, you gotta eat it because you don't want it to go bad. You have a few days, you have 4 or 5 days. Heck, you can even leave it out for 2 days. It's not gonna matter. But your butt, your backside, your bottom side, however you want to refer to it, is not gonna feel good if you're eating all that by yourself. So I wouldn't do this too often. You can get away with it once every few weeks, but if you start doing it too much. So that's why I do lots of no bean chili. But in a crock pot, you don't have to use beans. Heck, most of the time, if I'm using a crock pot, I take a roast, put it in there. A roast or 4 or 5 chicken breasts, and I put them in there with nothing more than some sauce or some seasonings that I just, sprinkle on. And the natural juices will start to, be all the fluid it needs. And when it cooks and it comes out, it's falling apart and it's tender. Oh my gosh. Go get a little 2-pound bag of shredded cheese and some tortillas, and you got awesome tacos right there out of your crock pot, okay? You can do so many things when you have this. I'm gonna go rinse. All right, so remember when I said there could be little pebbles and stuff, that's why I rinse? You see that strainer, that may seem small, but when I say little pebbles, they're smaller than that if they're even in there. So rarely have I come across a pebble after rinsing with this strainer, but without it, I'll come across them more often. So I give it a good rinsing and then throw them in. So here we got some meat. Like I said, usually I'll fry this up. I just go get seasoned packets. And there is no end of creativity or discovery that you can use to find just the perfect seasoning in a seasoned packet. All right, so I just go get those to make things easy. And I think I've got one here for a chili. If I do or not doesn't matter. I've got other seasonings. I know the right combinations of seasonings, on their own, but a seasoned packet is going to be an easy way to do it and make you seem like you're an expert. I'm going to make rice to go with the chili. Chili on top of rice is fine. You just don't want to put rice in your chili. I'm going to get this meat out. Now this is a lot of meat. This is 2.5 pounds of meat, and it's bloody and everything. It's just, there's so much of it. Yeah, okay, I don't want to get that anywhere. So I'm going to take this while it's still over the cooking surface, and I'm going to put it right there. And I've still got this hand clean of any blood. So I'm going to use this hand to get this over here. I'm going to put this bloody, actually there's still meat in here. I'm going to get this bloody thing and throw it in there. A little more meat. There you go. Put that there. And I'm going to take this meat and see this. I'm just grinding it up in my hands because you do not want giant chunks of meat in your chili. That would just be weird. You want it to be meat that you fried. Little hamburger meat. Hamburger helper. You remember that? Your mom ever make that for you? That's what you want it to be like. You just want to break it up in the smallest bits that you can. I got way too much in here. This is enough for a meatless or beanless chili times 1.5, right? It's a lot. But like I said, it's, leftovers need love too chili, so we're putting everything in here today. I even got some chicken. I'm going to put the chicken in there, not because I need it, but, I'm talking about all these different kinds of meats and things you throw in there, and I want you to see what a solid piece of meat looks like when it comes out of the crock pot. You're going to see that, and you're going to see what I mean by how it just is tender and it falls apart, and you can just do anything with it. It'll be in the chili, but the way it cooks and the way it comes out, you'll understand what I mean by that. You have my chicken here. Okay, good. No blood on that packaging. This is one of those packages that should just open up by peeling. It was in my freezer. Oh, I thought it was a peel open. maybe I was wrong. Oh, okay, well, okay, here it goes. This was something I had in the fridge, some spaghetti sauce from a few days ago. It's only from a couple days ago. It's not going to have enough to leave a spaghetti flavor in the chili, but it'll give it some more of a tomato flavor that I want to have. And that's that. And then I'm going to take this tomato sauce and chili. You know, some people don't use tomato sauce. I do. I like to use that. This is noisy, I know. Some people use like broths or just water and a ton of seasoning. Go check out some recipes. There's all kinds of different things people kind of do, and then they use a thickening agent, like I said before. Like if you're using broth or water, you need a thickening agent anyway. Even if you have beans, you might have too much water, too much broth, more than your beans will soak up. And you can look up amounts. You can look up amounts online and get it perfect, or you can just do it kind of the way I do it by taste and touch and feel and smell, and you know, just by watching it and making sure it looks like it's doing good. All right. So anyway, there's so much stuff in there now. I probably will go rinse it out. But even still, even if you use a pot that you're going to cook with and it's got some bloody stuff in it, when you cook the rice, all that stuff's going to cook out and it'll be fine. So it's not really necessary. All right, so here we go. So water. I want to get all that saucy goodness, so I'm going to pour some water in there. And then get that. Boom. That's the first water. Now I'm using the beans, so I want to have probably, I don't know, look it up. I'm going to say 4 cups of water for that amount of beans, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but that seems usually to be about right, and it makes it good. But if you want to be exact, Google it. All right. And I know what that'll look like in here. But again, I've been cooking my whole life. I'm almost 50 years old, okay? And I've been cooking my whole life just by watching things. And I guess just from the years of growing up and watching, I kind of know what I'm doing, but if I want to be exact, I'll go Google something. So, I'm doing this based on how much water. Again, if you really want to know exact amounts, go look it up. But I will say this. It's a lot of fun learning how to cook, you know, by experimenting. You might make some mistakes. I always say if you're not sure or don't know, start with just a little bit of everything and add more. You can always add more, but you can't just take it away. Once it's cooked in, it's in there. All right, so don't be afraid to experiment and learn more. You'll probably learn to make something amazing, and as long as you remember what you did, like when I'm cooking something that's very unique, different, or first time, I'll take pictures of all my ingredients. I suck at writing things down. My mom actually wrote a cookbook. I've got the crock pot going. That's gonna need a minimum of 4 hours, especially with that frozen meat in there. And I will have to use a masher tool to break up some of that the hamburger meat, but even opening and closing it, usually you don't want to open the lid at all, but even opening and closing it, I think 4 hours will probably do it on high. My crock pot has like all those fancy controls and all that. Even a cheap one's gonna have a high and low. Just throw it on high and set a phone timer. You'll be fine. And then I'm probably gonna let it go even 6 hours, but after 4 hours, I think it should be fine to start eating it. Everything should be cooked just, you know, enough. But another thing, I like to have it over rice. I'm not gonna do the rice until right before the end, because in a rice cooker, like 20 minutes is all it needs. I mean, it's not going to be ready till morning. I'm doing this, it's after midnight now, so, I mean, it'll be breakfast. Great, breakfast, chili for breakfast, that's awesome. I'm fine with it personally, but, yeah, you know, let it go. Like, that's why I say, if you're going to go and do classes for several hours, you can just throw it in there. If you think you're going to be gone like 8 hours, 10 hours, just put it on low, it'll be fine. Even on low, 8 hours almost doesn't seem enough for something like that, but it'll be good enough. But I'd even cook it high for 8 hours. I don't think it would hurt anything, as long as there's enough food in there so it doesn't start drying out. Even with the lid, it can dry it out a little. But you want to be able to maintain the moisture. It should be fine. But I wouldn't. You got to really know what you're cooking before you start leaving it for long amounts of time. You can overdo it. Things get too hot. You know, burn. You don't want that. But so that's why I say, if you think you're gonna go too long, use low. It's fine. You know, if it has to cook longer, then when you get home, put it on high if it's not enough, and then after being on low for 6, 7, 8 hours, going on high for another hour or two is gonna cook it a lot faster. You know, to the point of being ready. So just experiment, get to know it, and that's kind of a good lesson for pretty much anything. Like I say, throw in a roast, throw in, you know, chicken breast, frozen or not frozen. I mean, it's a couple hours less maybe if it is frozen, a couple hours more. I mean, you're gonna love it. You know, throw your seasonings in there, cheese, get some sour cream, some cheese, tortillas, lettuce, make a salad, make tacos, or there's so many other things. You can make stews, soups, you can do spaghetti. I'm not gonna give you the recipes. Go Google this stuff, it's so easy. Once you have a crock pot, you can do anything. And if you've got an Instant Pot like I've got, there's so much more. I make my pasta in an Instant Pot. 15 minutes of cooking is reduced down to, like, 3 minutes in an Instant Pot. And things come out great, and that's what I use for a lot of things. But again, those are more expensive, and you'll be so lucky if I need to find someone giving one away. But like a crock pot rice cooker, easy to find for free or super cheap. That's why I'm talking about using those. So go get your cook on. If you do this stuff the way I've been talking about, everyone around you is going to want to be around you all the time. They won't know that you don't know how to do anything. Knowing how to use a crock pot and cooking are not the same thing, but nobody knows the difference. Don't worry about it. You can cook as far as they're concerned, and everyone will love you for it. That's all I got. I'm Golden the Guru, Josh Golden. Thank you very much, and we'll come back when the chili is ready. Thank you. All right, so if you've been following along, you know that I set the crock pot last night, and I had it cooking overnight. Now I've already opened the lid, so we're not going to see much steam coming out. Maybe you saw some of that, but it is cooked. I set it originally for an 8-hour timer. At 4 hours, I went and checked it because, like I said, I wanted to break up the beef that was in there. And I opened this lid, gonna set it aside. The lid's hot, but I'm used to hot things. All right, so it looks just like the way chili looks. I don't know if you can get a good look in there. All right, I don't want to tip it too much and spill anything, but looks like chili. I actually really liked using the potato pearls, the mashed potato pearls. I'll probably do that again. That was the first time I did that. I usually use flour, if anything, and I like it when it has a little bit of a looser consistency, but that sometimes can look like a stew. This looks like a chili and has the true consistency of a chili. Now remember, I had that frozen chicken in there. Hold on. Remember my trusty alcohol for sanitizing my hands? Okay, so I mean, this chicken is falling off the bone. Oh my gosh, that's so hot. Here's one of the bones. Ow. It's just falling off the bone, man. It is just deliciously cooked. I can tell just by looking at it and smelling it. I mean, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. That's good. Oh, it's hot. It's good. Usually I make my rice to put this on top of. I don't even need to. But don't underestimate the value of a rice cooker when you're doing something like this. This is actually really good. I don't want to stop eating it, but I need to let it cool. Oh, that's really good. All right, so, I mean, this is a lot of food to make if you're just one person in a dorm at college, but maybe you have roommates, or you can cook for dorm mates and be the person that they all turn to and pay. I don't know. I'm not saying you're gonna make money off of this, but maybe exchange, favors like get me all your notes for chemistry or whatever. Do something. Other things you can do with a crock pot. Now it doesn't. I kept talking about throw some meat in there and it'll be shredded and falling apart and make tacos. You don't have to just do tacos and chili. I mean, a popular thing I do is I throw some chicken breasts in there and put some barbecue sauce on it, and then I've got and then some rice, or maybe like an Asian type of sauce, and have an Asian chicken, like an orange chicken. Another thing, I'll take like a beef roast or any cut of meat, really doesn't matter, The cheapest nice cut of meat, you know, when I say nice, you don't want it to be all fat, you know, if you can avoid it, because all those fat juices just soak in there, and that's great, but it's, you know, fattening. But I'll take a cut of meat, and I'll throw in some potatoes, and let that cook for several hours, and maybe like halfway through or down to the last 2 hours, I'll throw in some vegetables. I get like a bag of vegetables that you can get frozen, or fresh vegetables, like, you know, carrots and broccoli and, you know, that kind of stuff, mushrooms. I'll throw it in there, and, you know, you could put it in for the whole time, but then they kind of cook to being mushy. Like some vegetables, they're not even visible anymore. They've cooked down so much that they're basically gone. All right, that's why I like to do them the last couple hours, and that way they still have some of their vegetable-y consistency, and they, you know, they're still present in the food. And then you've got, like I say, a nice, you know, the vegetable stew, or, you know, a roast beef with, you know, a side of vegetables. So that's about as much as I can think to share right now. Thanks for watching, and I hope you become a great dorm college cook, or wherever it is you do what you do. Again, thanks.